Hello everybody, this is Jack Dennis and welcome to our fly fishing and tying channel. I hope you're all having a good start to the new year and out tying a lot of flies. We started a couple weeks ago with our Jack Dennis and Friends fly tying session. Our first one was with Dave Allison, and I'm going to be showing you some from the past. One of the things I've been involved with my fly tying career is setting up fly tying theaters and been involved with the many conclaves that fly fishing groups and clubs have over the country. And they really highlight tyers that you may not have ever met. And one of the best ones is ones in Idaho, both the Western Idaho Expo and the Eastern Idaho Expo, which is in Idaho Falls. They've been doing these fly tying get-togethers for a long time. We're talking over 30 years. So I want to do some highlights from some that I filmed in 2009 and 2010. And you'll get a chance to meet some names you know, and maybe some names you didn't know. And one of the nice things about tying at these expos is all the excitement and sounds of people going around telling lots and lots of fly fishing stories. Most of them may be exaggerated. But one of the nice things about the theater is you get a chance to listen to the tyers talk about their experiences and answer questions. I think you're going to enjoy them. We're going to start this week with several. We'll try to give you the most information. And I know some of you are going to say, wow, you know, I don't know about the materials. Well, these are really uncut. So, you know, you do your best on figuring it out. But I think you're going to enjoy the interaction with the crowd and with the tyers. And really uncut and I think extremely fun. Let's get going.
Get some moose hairs here. And like I said, I really like tying ants. The only downside to tying ants is all the dubbing. It seems like you dub forever. But it's a fun fly to tie and floats like a cork, and it's definitely a great fly to fish with. So we're going to start out and get my bobbin threaded here. All right, we're going to start out again. The hook is a TMC 100. We're going to get our thread on our hook. And anybody that's actually had the opportunity to really look at an ant knows that there's a whole lot of, you know, of definition and stuff in the way the ant is actually put together or created or whatever. And again, like I said, this ant is really fun to tie because it not only incorporates CDC in the wing, it also incorporates it into the abdomen. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 red CDC feathers and we're going to spoon them right on top of each other. We're going to start from about the middle of the feather. And again, we're going to pull all those fibers into the tip. And we're basically going to do the same technique that we did for the wing case on the transitional midge. We're going to tie it right on the back end of the hook. Just like that. And remember earlier when I was talking about actually starting your dubbing, actually where you want the specific part of your fly to end. So I'm going to put the dubbing, or excuse me, I'm going to put my thread right in the middle of that hook shank. And I'm going to take some red dry fly dubbing Same dubbing technique. I'm getting my dubbing started at the top. Once I get it started and anchored, then I can start working it down my thread and start getting it on the hook shank. Anybody that ties ants knows that it does require a lot of dubbing. And it's not a process that you can do really fast. You can't just take a whole lot of dubbing, throw it on the hook, and say it's there, because your fly will sink. If your dubbing is not tight, your fly will sink. So what I'm doing is I'm not crisscrossing, I'm not overlapping, I'm making consecutive wraps of dubbing all the way across. And it's kind of like sculpting. You just keep adding a wrap here, adding a wrap there, but you just keep going. Most generally, the size or the diameter of your abdomen compared to it's going to be close to about, I would say, the gape of the hook, which is between the point of the hook and the hook shank itself. And you can see I'm just going back and forth, not crisscrossing. I'm not working any faster than I can get the dubbing on the thread. You know, when I hit a point where I want a little bit more definition, I'll make a couple extra wraps in the same place. But I just keep adding dubbing. But you can see how nice and tight that dubbing is. And no matter what, your dubbing is going to soak up some water, but the tighter you keep that dubbing, the less the less amount of water that's going to soak into your fly, preventing your fly from sinking. So now, this CDC that we've tied in back here, we're actually going to just bring it over the top a little bit loose. We're not going to bring it down really tight, just a little bit loose. And we're going to tie it right over top of that ball of dubbing. Trim it off. All right. Now the next step in this fly is we're going to tie in 2 little moose hair legs. A lot of people ask me, do you tie that on every ant you tie? And I tell them, yes, every single ant that comes out of my vise has 2 little moose tail legs. So what I like to do, I've got 2 moose hairs here. You know, do the fish know they're there? I don't know, but they do catch fish. So, and they are, after all, supposed to be imitating the ant. So I don't know if you can even actually see these. There you can. All right, we're going to take 1 moose hair fiber, and I'm going to tie it on the outside. We want it to extend just a little ways out the back end of the hook. And then I'm going to take another one and I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side, which is tie it right up against the base of that. Try to even them up. All right, once those are on, all right, now we're going to take 2 medium done CDC feathers, excuse me, and again we're just going to pair those up, flare them back to back so they flare away from each other. Pretty much the same technique as we've been doing for the last couple of patterns. Even up our tips. We're going to start from about the middle of the feather and pull all those fibers into the tip. Only this time we're going to want to turn them around so they're actually facing the right way. And again, pinch. And we're going to sit these right on top of our abdomen, and we want these wings to be about even with the back end of the hook shank, not the back end of the dubbing, the back end of the hook shank. So they're going to look just a little bit longer. Loose wrap, and then as I come back over again, 3 or 4 nice tight wraps to anchor that wing right on top. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in some hackle. And I use the same technique to tie my hackle in as I explained before. I like to strip the bottom off of my stem, and then the inside that I'm going to tie against my fly, I actually take 3 or 4 more off. And I'm going to tie that in right against the base of my wing. And I'm going to do that same technique that I showed you before about standing my hackle up. I've got that stem on there, so I've crossed over once with my thread. Now I'm going to come back behind my hackle with my thread. And then rather than trimming those butts off, I'm going to tie that right up against the hook shank. And you can see that hackle is not coming up. It's not going anywhere. Now we're going to take a little bit of black dry fly dubbing, and we're going to form the front end of the ant, or the thorax. The front end of the thorax, the dubbing ball is not going to be, I guess we better wrap our hackle first. That helps. We're going to want probably about 3 or 4 wraps of hackle on our ant. When we wrap the hackle, we want to keep our hackle wraps just as tight and as close together as we possibly can to prevent our hackle from slipping. I got 3 wraps on this one, so we're going to tie this off. Trim a few of those errant fibers out of the way. All right, now we'll put some black dubbing on there. All right, and again, the thorax is not going to be nearly as large as the abdomen on the ant. We're going to want to build it up just a little bit, not a lot. But we're still going to use the same technique as we did in the back. Just small amounts of dubbing working back and forth. Got a little bit too much here. All right. Okay, now we're just going to tie off the front end of the thorax. Nice smooth head. Whip finish.